Yo, Soundwave, kick it! Kick it, Soundwave! Dude, just kick it! What are you doing? No! Oh, Soundwave, you're almost the perfect Decepticon. Perfect design, perfect commander, perfect gimmicks, perfect excuse of mass shifting, because who's gonna argue with the cassette player transforming into this hunk of a man? As you're probably aware, he is the chief communications officer of the Decepticons, loyal to Megatron, possesses numerous minions in his chest, deployed literally at his fingertip, wicked DJ, and fantastic at dancing. Soundwave returns in the Siege War for Cybertron line. Yes, a good-sized Voyager-class Soundwave, with the robot fitting that unforgettable style. Hopefully they got all the marks right. Soundwave transforms into 404 error file not found, reinstall Windows program. I think it's supposed to be a Cybertronian jet. I heard hovercraft. Honestly, if you told me this was the McFly hoverboard we were promised, I probably wouldn't argue. Listen, I get why he's not a cassette player. Kids in the modern day are probably too busy fighting over a potato online to understand the idea. Best they could do is maybe a Nintendo Switch looking thing. So I get why they opt out for an alien jet. It's not the first time, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is dumb. G1 is so stupid. Oh yeah, how's this any flippin' better? What's with these Voyager jets and the lack of effort? I mean, previously toys like this had the excuse of a third mode, but what's the excuse here? I guess the boxy style is familiar, and the very back kinda looks like the cassette mode with loud red ears. The Cybertron design kinda had similar themes, with the legs on the front and the back with an opening compartment for the minions. However, there's a specific restyling to this that flows, and you get the general idea. This was drunk. I do like to think of it as a floating alien concert stage. Think about it. I like that idea for a few reasons. It makes these side things feel like giant stereos, even at the front. It has a nice platform for Eiffel 65, and I don't have to think of it as garbage. I find it odd though. There are these panels that cover the feet, I assume to clean up the robot, but it's still good to see rather than the feet sticking out, even though the scratches aren't consistent. Also dig the added side rockets. Lazy alt mode, but with effort? The two original guns can connect here, but the gray one just taps to the side. Gee, for this to be crammed into the toy, I wonder if it has any importance.
Nope.
Also, Soundwave has skis with siege ports, but that would suggest that I want to display it in this mode. I do like that tiny cockpit, so cute. And I guess you can create your own fan mode, but wait! There is another mode. Allow me to introduce you to the alien streetlight. Seems stupid in concept, but this is a nod to the original first episode of the Transformers. Granted, some changes like the top section, which makes a nice touch, and the arms wrapping around with the skis pointed up. If you assume this is a fan mode not seen in the instructions, just take a black light to the artwork or flip out the tab on the package, and you will see an outline of this mode. So yeah, suck it, it's real. There is some benefit to the alt mode, hiding in plain sight even in their home planet, and to boot, it's not ugly as hell. Sadly, there's no official cassette player, but either get the upgrade kit or slide the arms and put them to the side. Now enjoy as you beatbox with rad attitude. This thing again. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. They probably did this to keep the robot clean. If it was a truck, then the wheels would get in the way. But I could probably come up with something better with my shoes tied. Watch. I don't want this to take down the ship, but it really waters down the Soundwave figure. There's nothing inspired about this and just seems lame. Robot mode. What's up, good looking? Where have you been? It's really amazing how this figure goes from bullocks to beautiful. This robot mode looks so much like the masterpiece with the proportions and colors. I mean, aside from the backpack and skis off to the side, yeah, So much for clean. There's a clear respect and passion that turns the leader figure into a tryhard. Speaking of which, I much prefer Soundwave at the scale. I think we certainly needed a Voyager-class properly made Soundwave, even with the scuff marks which add a little flair. If you're at war, I imagine the screen chest would need to be replaced often. The head is just so perfect I could kiss it. They have that serious mouth plate, iconic design, and the only thing that would make it better is light piping. I'm horny! Did someone say articulation? Ball jointed head, shoulders out and in, forward and back rotation below, double elbow, waist rotation, hips out and in, forward and back rotation below, knee bend, and foot tilt. Soundwave is fine in a standard intimidating pose, but you've got a lot to work with and it's wonderful. Dance for me! He even kept the original play buttons on the crotch with the side buttons that can move out of the way for the legs. Plus, you can recreate that gif. Let's take a look at the accessories. Part of the Siege combat gimmick, he includes his original blasters that I'm not going to bother with saying the names. His shoulder cannon has a spot on top, while the other extends to form the classic blaster. I don't have too much to complain with the blaster, but the shoulder cannon peg can slip out. And on the back, it pushes the backpack, which can stay, but already has trouble tabbing in. He also has this, which... You sure this is for Soundwave? Whose gun is this? I tried looking up a reference point, but couldn't find much. However, you can open this up, attach the other two weapons, and get this! I don't understand. Was this why it was shoved into the alt mode? Did no one want to say no to the intern? You could just attach the two other guns if you want a siege gimmick, so what's the point? Wait, open it, add the shoulder cannon, and sweet, a sonic battle hammer. You can connect weapons to the shoulders, back, arms, hands, side of the legs, or feet. You can attach siege blast effects all over, including the ski blasters you can flip out. What's this button do? Oh, is someone hungry for some cassettes? I'm glad to bring in the MicroMaster cassette pack. This spring-loaded cassette case opens pretty swiftly, and though it seems to push the ab hinges back slightly, my only problem is you can only add one. He's even got the trigger finger to push the button himself, or to check if Laserbeak is a boy or girl. And yes, there are little gaps for Laserbeak's feet. Soundwave has some flaws that really bring him down a peg, including the alt mode, which is frustrating because the robot mode shows there was some passion to this. I'm guessing they didn't want to destroy the robot with alt mode kibble, but he's already got some. The robot is fine as is. In fact, the overall look and playability almost makes up for the issues. This is probably the perfect Decepticon character, and if you're huge into Soundwave, this is something that you should probably look into. I'm sure you'll be satisfied with something because there's still a lot here to like. Alt mode, inferior, Soundwave, sex appeal.
Starscream, no!
Oh, but what if Starscream? Yes! If you missed the Power of the Prime Starscream review, I'll give a quick rundown. I always wanted a decent Voyager-class Starscream based on the classic style, and they did, granted with changes, and I was grateful aside from one thing: it sucked! Yeah, I was initially upset, hoping it wasn't gonna take long until the next Starscream. Oh, what a shame. Then suddenly, Siege released a brand spanking new Starscream. Damn it, Siege, you're really sucking me in. Siege Starscream comes in the second wave of the toy line, and this is a Starscream worthy to be locked in an escape room with Loki, just imagine. Running with the line, Starscream isn't an F-15 this time. Is he A, a deformed Imperial shuttle, B, a Star Fox ship, C, the Cybertronian jet based on the first episode of the cartoon, or D, the Triforce? Inspired by the Tetrajet mode from the episode More Than Meets the Eye Part 1. But is it really a Tetrajet if the top is just the stylized air conditioner? The jet is detailed like the surface of a Star Destroyer, with complex panels coating the smooth shape. It's also covered with the Siege battle marks, gunmetal splotches over a dull gray color. Doesn't always blend, but there's been worse. I love how the nose cone flows down the entire body of the jet, jet, even with the flat cockpit. Don't let this fool you, underneath is just the entire arms and legs. But what did you expect from a jet former? At least you can take out his legs, and I think this is robot anime. It locks in pretty solidly, with the arms and wings tapping in all together, and hooked into the chest flap that, oh, this is gonna be biased, but I really don't mind it. The tit jets look like additional boosters, and when you think about it, where would the cockpit go? In Generation 1, his robot form was based on the continued F-15 style, primarily used in the show, but the Cybertron form has distinctive alternate shapes. I'd like to think of this as some alien-powered charger that would eventually form the new cockpit once he arrives on Earth. And nipples? There's a hole at the bottom of the wings to add the null rays, but thanks to the arms, there's 2 additional portholes in different angles, and I appreciate that variety even by accident. You can have it in the normal look, angled to be slick, or sideways to flatten it into the wings, or buy the repaints and try them all! Oh, thank goodness, we could just shove this old heap off to the side. Say what you want about the kibble, but at least there's a sense of, we know what we're fucking doing, and not shoving things into a broken jet! Did I mention this was terrible? I appreciate that we now have a Tetrajet Seeker mold, and I respect this outline. It's a nice change from what we've gotten used to, and I think it's exactly what we need. Robot mode. Starscream returns to a more familiar route, but sadly the paint is lackluster. There's so much that needs small little touches of color, and not just this gray smudge that makes the legs look like concrete. It just sets me back from any anticipation. Oh well, let's just mess with him and see how he is. I see things differently now! Food tastes better, except for sour cream, that shit's awful. The mold is very solid, the joints are fair, there's a good heft, even with the backpack, which, if you think about it, isn't even that bad. There's even a flap that tabs between the towering shoulders to keep it in place, although it's hard to jam everything in. See, Megatron? If it wasn't for your arrogance, you'd learn something. The helmet looks a bit bloated, but the detail is right for Starscream. What I really appreciate is, while most of the transparent plastic is orange, his eyes are deep red. Yep, whole new color mold just for the eyes, and they look awesome. Did someone say, articulation? Ball jointed head, butterfly joint, shoulders up and down, forward and back, rotation below, double elbow, wrist rotation, waist rotation, hips out and in, forward and back, rotation below, knee bend, foot forward and back, and tilt. Posability is pretty good, even making me consider getting an adapting stand to shove up his prolapse. The wings can also move up and down and forward and back just to give you alternate looks. Fly, Starscream, you beautiful screecher! I personally like slightly tilting the wings up. He's looking good, however, there are some issues to look for. I do like how the arms open up for the transformation, allowing the arms to extend and hand to fold out. Just the way the hand is placed and still designed to rotate at the fist. However, doing so might accidentally open it up. I really appreciate the panels that spring out of the legs, but don't expect it to fold in by itself just from bending the knee. By the angles, math, and some other sciencey words, it just slaps in there unless you give it a little manual shove. Also, while I haven't done it and probably won't, you should probably consider shaving the corners of the hip panels, as they get in the way of the outward movement. You can get past it, but it's a consideration. Since we're talking about flaws, there's no pin holding the chest, and the nubs are too soft to really keep it in place. If I'm slow enough, usually it sticks to one side, which I can work with. I know people mod this to insert a pin, but honestly, I don't recommend doing so. I heard that it usually stresses the plastic, and how this is shaped, it feels like it's also being forced out of place by the mold, and not just my aggressive caveman strength. Just a quick note of the box art, it looks like he was meant to have leg wings. Shame, it would have beefed him up, and while I understand, he doesn't look happy. Let's take a look at the weapons. In the siege line, I'm sure there's an overly complicated name, but we all know this as the null rays. Oh no! Holes on the lower arm? Not again! Put them on the shoulders! Damn it, Hasbro, why did you— Oh. They go here. Am I sensitive? I sort of shrug at these. They're bland, they don't look like the null rays, but just ordinary rifles for some other figure. Hell, with the scope, it could pass for an updated Megatron weapon mode. You can give him the Power of the Prime's weapons, or hey, with the leader, those siege holes come in handy. Suck it, Megatron! You can attach siege blast effects to the front and back, but there's no holes to attach other weapons like some of the other figure accessories. Plus, I feel like they could have separated the front and back midway somehow with the peg. It could bring at least some interesting opportunities. So Power of the Primes! There's no damn competition! He may lack in added colors, but beats the shit-faced stickers. You can't tell me otherwise. I mean, see the tiny symbol in the wings? Yeah, and you want to cover that up with a sticker? Shame on you. But at least you can port weapons on these back boosters that jet them forward in Supersonic Supremo. Also in the wings, shoulders, side of the arms, hands, and side of the leg. I would say feet, but they don't seem to work well. If the shoe fits, which it doesn't. Typical with the Siege line, he does have blast ports in certain areas. And how can I forget the nose cone section that splits and comes up to form the shoulder towers? Great for housing the tiny civilization of hamsters. And how the glass breaks in the rotation, that's abnormal. Get it? Ab? Like his abs? Normal? I strangely have sub. There's some things you gotta look out for, and honestly, I hesitated getting this, but I'll say this. Starscream is much better than Soundwave. Some of the issues seem to sink him down, while Starscream has a solid alt mode and issues you could look past. Superior compared to the Power of the Prime's counterpart in Voyager scale, this feels right, and has got me excited to see what repaints will come out after, if we ever do get more aside from the ones announced. If you want a decent scale Starscream, this is your figure. All hail Starscream! Fine, you get a participation sticker. I just wanted to quickly say a huge thanks to the Dabber Supreme who got me a voice clip of Frank Walker as Megatron that you heard earlier in the video. That is awesome, so I really do appreciate it. There will be a link down in the description.
He assumed he could best me. Well, why did he run to the forest to hide? Pathetic, thinking he's assured safety from a prize tracker. I am Lockdown. I've had the benefit of experience finding some of the most elusive prey. My expertise is boundless. Do you think I'll simply be made a fool? Not while I stand.
That's what you get for being naughty! Starring as the villain of the second highest grossing Transformers film Age of Extinction, Lockdown didn't start from the Generation 1 roots, but instead the Transformers animated series. His voice was slick, he's cunning, and has proven himself worthy of a film lead. He did get a movie tie-in figure in the Revenge of the Fallen toy line, however canon to the main films, he sheds the brighter color and edgy nobody understands me teenage punk alt mode and slim build for a more humanoid style. And man, it looks pretty ugly, even by film standards, and that's saying something. Hired by the creators to reset the balance of order and not affiliated by either side, though seems to have made a name for himself, Lockdown proves to be a worthy adversary. Lockdown transforms into a Lamborghini Aventador, and it's sad. How? Well, when I take a look at the Masterpiece Sideswipe, the Countach blows me back. I love the Lambo style, even getting a good Hot Wheels collection of the models. So what drunk uncle made this piece of garbage to shove in my face? That's technical foul! Lamborghinis are supposed to be beautiful, and at least he has the essentials, but it looks like someone grabbed the book Lamborghinis for Dummies, but some of the pages were ripped out. He doesn't even have a proper logo, just a gold triangle. I can't even say it's based off the film. Where did the brown come from? The blue windows, open gap, deceptive, I thought he wasn't part of any faction. What other lies have I been told? Well, I'll give it that the mold on the back looks fine, even with the painted taillights, but that logo is still a gold triangle. Wheels roll very nicely, a major surprise given they're not pinned in. And while I can look past the colors, I mean, compare that to the Dinobots, I think they just wanted visual flair. The biggest crime is the open gap. Just shows too much inside, is massively distracting, and could have been avoided. There's a few crooked gaps on the top to attach the massively large weapon. Yes, it's ridiculously large for a smooth car, but at this point, it's entertaining me enough to distract from the car underneath. Car mode is disappointing. I guess it functions alright, but visually it could have been improved. Instead, I'm reminded how Hot Rod did it better. Too many things are displeasing from this. Robot mode. In robot mode, listen, I'm not a toy engineer, but even I know this is hardly the best they could do. Seems like they squished him down and flattened him with a steamroller. Funny, the engineering seems inspired from Dark the Moon Roadbuster, except someone knew what they were doing. The body is so awkwardly lumpy, the arms are long, the lower arms are flat with the claw hands, and the legs, well, they're okay, but I'm still mad. I don't know what to think of the face. In the film, it rounds out enough and seems okay. But the toy, while evoking some of the details, fails to capture the cunning, emoting Terminator terror, and instead goes for the subtle, if Skeletor had a child with the Crypt Keeper. Decepticon logos. Blue eyes. Who even saw the film? Did someone say, articulation? Ball jointed head, up and down hinge, ball joint shoulders, rotation below, elbow bend, hips out and in, forward to back, rotation below, knee bend, and up and down foot. Posability is bland. The hips are connected together and sometimes you move one and the other will follow. I've seen this type of connection before, but the lack of friction from the socket doesn't hold the other side enough to stay set. Also, there's no pose that'll make him look pretty, unless you look at him from behind, and with the kibble, nope, still a mess. I can barely pick out any detail I like. Even in the legs, they look so thin compared to the upper body. It's like looking at a discarded troll design. Let's take a look at the weapon. Lockdown comes with the massive railgun based on the iconic gun face. Now this is some class. The proportions seem right with its long shaft. And the detail work is actually easy on the eyes, unlike You can also plug it into the hand, and while it gets away from the originality, the weapon does allow you for some better looking posing options. But is that because of the weapon, or I don't want to say it. Using the tab on the gap, you can completely recreate that look of the film, and unfortunately, this is probably the only good reason to get this figure, since Studio Series, the other official mainline fourth film Lockdown, never continued this. With these gray pads, you can pull back and launch the friction-fired missile. Pretty simple gimmick, but at least it's something. As it stands with the posability, you only get slight side motion. At the time of the release, this was the only Lockdown to be released in the main toy line, which was a crime against scale. I'm not a super nut about this, but compare this to the Optimus Prime and be careful who you bully in school. Is it sad Hot Rod beats it on every level? Even the head? Thankfully, the Last Night provided a closer scale version, but this still looks like visual trash. The Studio Series clearly outshines this figure, but he's bigger. So it begs the question, does this Lockdown have a place anywhere? I guess if you need to have a Lockdown from that specific Age of Extinction line or want the gun face. Other than that, I have no idea why you'd want this. It's hard to say it's outdated, only because it wasn't well received to begin with. Its relevance was only held for the time it was the only option, and even then some grabbed the flip changer instead. No, I really don't recommend this figure. In fact, I recommend throwing it in a wood chipper. I can hardly find anything of worth, even the transformation is slapped on lazily. I'll keep it around as I usually do with my figures. Also, its failure and datedness has become an oddity, but it's certainly not worthy of its name. And the worst part is, it destroyed a good car. For shame! You're breathtaking.
Finally! Me Grimlock can complete the Almighty Combiner!
A Dynamite Combiner, that's weird.
You dumb! And no girls allowed! I mean, not to have an actual problem with women, it's just we don't have a spot for you.
Hey Shockwave, I heard you like necks.
I never thought about it. Didn't think I had a preference.
Well, how's this for neck?
I guess giraffes are cool.
Sludge, also known as Slog in some continuities, or Dinobot Cliffjumper, that's an inside joke, has a hard time catching up with the intelligence of his fellow Dinobots. And whoa! That's saying something. Instead, Sludge makes himself useful with his brute strength and mass destruction. Geez, Bay had nothing for him but a concept design. While showing distaste for the Autobot leader, he believes in the righteousness of that side, and of course, any opportunity to stomp on some Decepticons like a bowl in a china shop. Sludge transforms into a metallic Brontosaurus, whether that's a real dinosaur or not, with its destructive power, brute size, iconic long neck, and the ability to sneeze on little girls. That's a reference to Jurassic Park, I'm not making it weird. He's wonderfully round and bulbous, as he should be, don't kink shame me, but without the extensive neck, he blends with some of the other Dinobots, specifically Slug, mostly because he's reusing parts from it. I've complimented it before, but in this case, the transparent plastic with the gold paint underneath for an extra shine almost makes it feel lifeless. Not to say there's nothing there with the technical inner workings, but the exposed gold underneath with the movable jaw stands out, and I think, what if they didn't have the clear plastic? Look, it was smart for the time, and does bring the group together as a collective, but without the clear, you realize the painted gold really brings out the detail with lights and shadows working with it. I'm fine with either, just pick. I do like how the teeth are sticking out. It would be dangerous, but all I'm thinking is the scene where cartoon eyes jet out of the face. But at least there's a peg hole on the back and neck for chin gun! I think the back legs are worse. The silver versus the gold are clashing in contrast, but with the solid silver body in comparison, the legs just look clear, so I'm just kerfuzzled. You see the tabs? I just want to make sure I'm not imagining these because they're useless. Also, I hate the feet. They can't move, but they could have easily done something with it. I approach it wanting to move it, but oopsie, I've been bamboozled. But at least he has holes underneath for the stomach weapons. Ooh. You could also plug weapons on the back or the legs themselves, so you could totally weaponize this beast. Sadly, he's on the short side for a Brontosaurus, even for wheelie, but given the gimmicks, and if you're into a basic Sludge to play with, it's okay. Also plug one of the Titan or Prime Masters for Dino Riding Gang! Hey, that should be an old show. And you can move his neck for Curious Think. So, Sludge doesn't live up to the height of expectations for a lot of people, but for me, a simple Sludge is fine enough. Could be bigger, but seeing what this does, I can't stay upset. Robot mode! Well, looky here. Sludge is looking sludgerific, if I do say, although maybe a bit more slim than I hoped. But he's packing some legs. Big and kibbly with 2 sets of heels. Damn, girl! Is it too wide, though? There's not much you can do with the limited knee, but if he can stomp, he will stomp. Even though a good amount of this is from Slug, the tails don't lock in with the new parts.
Well, one of us is gonna have to change.
Check out the face installed in this helmet made from a recycled popcorn bucket, with the yellow eyes and concerned citizen face. I do get the dim-witted sense a little more with my figure, as one of the eye is painted awkwardly, and even the off-balance mustache that shouldn't be on. I think he'll regret looking back at his old Facebook photos. It's like his brain is forcing out facial hair, and this is the face he has right before he shits himself. Did someone say, articulation? Head rotates, ball joint shoulders, rotation below, elbow bend, waist rotation, ball joint hips, rotation below, and knee bend. Posability is sort of basic, but the hips attached to the wings can flap about. Great to see they kept that iconic piece of work. Also, the dino head folds up pretty well to fit inside the anus cavity. Looks like he sat in a minion. Honestly, he feels very basic, other than the broken animal parade float on his back. There's nothing about it that's striking. I appreciate the painted black on the arms, and the techno detail that's only a hoax. Body has a nice black mat with some decent details, including an abdomen scanner for incoming TIE fighters. If he had another foot port, this could sneak its way into the siege line without suspicious world face. Look at him, so oblivious to the obvious. There's ports on the dino throat, neck, 2 on the back, wings, 1 on the chest, lower arms, hands, dino leg, right on the knee on the one leg, and the bottom of the other. Looks like someone's wanting some weapons. Let's take a look at the accessories. He comes with the same blaster as Slug, with the scope and cut off back to comply with the dino toes. He also comes with the prime armor in the beast mold. Same color as his brother, so I hope they tie a ribbon at the airport. Can be applied to the chest for pregnancy armor, or into the hand, or even the side of the arm, but we all know what this is really for. You can pop off the panel, add a prime master for imaginary power, and use the panel as a disc launcher. Look, if I want Prego Dino, I'd flip around the panels for extra Prego. Maybe attach some weapons for weaponized Prego. What body expectations? You go, girl! Leg mode is pretty basic and holds fine enough, but the one glaring factor is the dino head that you could rotate around, and I think I made it awkward. Arm mode is where the heft really comes to shine. However, the dino head is making this feel unsettling, but at least it can hold its weight. Sludge is not perfect, but at worst he is just basic. But with some Power of the Prime's toys coming out disappointingly in quality, this is fine. He's not the massive towering dinosaur people want, but I just wanted a Sludge toy and they even got the name right. It's an official classic like Sludge, something I've been wanting for years, ever since classic Grimlock, so I hold no grudge against him. Simple, and sometimes that's all that's needed, and he fits right into the group just fine. Maybe dim-witted, but I give him a C-grade average. Although he is looking like that messed up cat that looks like Grandma. Someone get Lucy, there's a reference to a video. Oh, look at how sad this guy is! What's wrong, Pouty Face? What is it, Powder Cullen? What's up, Powder McPouty? Pouty Pout, sad puss pouty pout? What's your problem, stupid? Snarl's been through a lot, hasn't he? On top of the original Stegosaurus, he was a Tasmanian devil, a white and blue wolf, Garfield, name tag for Slag, Power Rangers enemy, and an edgy metal Thundercats reboot. But this one goes back to what we all know as the Beastie Cheese Grater. He looks shiny and spiffy, but he's actually entirely miserable. Other than following Grimlock, he's just a mopey guy who keeps to himself. A little unsettling considering there's a certain level of flair you don't really expect. He storms his way into Power of the Primes, but is he as sad as his emotions would have it? Snarl transforms into a powerful robotic Stegosaurus, complete with massive plates to protect himself, while stabbing his foes, creating the ultimate weapon of the past that could wipe out anything. But sure, we'll blame an asteroid. Check out this avocado with daggers shoved into it, and the tail that seems to slope down awkwardly, but can cause damage with the tiny toothbrush we'll call dangerous. We make holes in teeth! We make holes in teeth! Check out the tiny arrow-shaped pinhead that's too small for its body, but also continues its luscious curvature. No mouth movement, which he's the only one to leave that out. But straight on, he looks like a fat cat, but with more knives. The front legs are limited to the shoulder rotation, but the back legs are decently posable. You can see that the clear plastic over the gold effect continues here, with clear over the silver better contained than the Sludge figure. Paintwork is decent, not sure how I feel about the hefty gunmetal base cut by a plastic red color, but it's hidden back enough and the mold still flows. And I gotta give attention to the blue and red tampons on top and the black highlighting the techno meat. You can add Titan or Prime Masters on these red pegs, or flip down the plates to make Titan or Prime Master balconies. You can add either of the weapons on the side of the legs. The Prime Armor attaches with a basic port, but the sword uses a tab. It can also plug the same way, but you can tab it onto the ball joint gap. However, considering the stress of the horrid clear plastic, I'd rather not. There were early reveals that showed him with an additional weapon on the dino head. I imagine it would tab into the gap above, but the figure didn't include that piece. Oh, he's so plump and juicy, and look at those toes, I can't stay mad. It's really hard to take the idea that this round piece of gold goodies is depressingly quiet, because honestly you can't stop loving him, even if he's not much bigger than a truck. What else is there to say? Robot mode. Snarl in Robot Mode continues the Dinobot theme with a huge addition of gold flare, the spiked boots, and shoulder strut fashion statement, which makes it all the more sad knowing his isolation. Do you just want attention? Is that all? Because your peacocking is confusing everyone! The torso makes him look like a mascot for Applebee's standing outside uncomfortably in the summer day. It makes the limbs look out of place, especially the waist and the lower legs. Looks like a cartoon in skinny jeans. There's multiple colors going around, but the flavors spread around and feel like equal opportunities for all colors. Plus the chest has some added tampos with an additional clear screen near the port. Head could work as an adult Bumblebee with some roundness to the shape and the crooked horns, but I can't stop staring at his disappointed lips. It's like he saw a dead frog in the lake and it ruined his day. Did someone say articulation? Ball jointed head, ball joint shoulders, rotation below, elbow bend, waist rotation, ball joint hips, rotation below, and knee bend. Posability is average, with an added awkward hinge in the neck if you want to use it, but I can't stand the ball joints in the shoulders with a crack in it. I already have a distaste in clear plastic. How could you? Let's take a look at the accessories. Sludge comes with a tiny Voltron sword that, unlike Swoop, remains unpainted. It's fine, it makes it different enough, plus there is a tab on the side. He also comes with a hand that you could try and call it a weapon, plugs into the hand or the shoulders as a spiky safety hazard. You can add it to the chest as body enhancer, and replace this clear piece, use it as a disc launcher, and add Titan or Prime Masters for imaginary power. Funny enough, while the black and clear plastic is shared throughout the other Dinobots, the gold post is only unique to this figure. Funny, he's the only Dinobot where the weapon doesn't attach to the lower arm. Is that why you're sad? I can't stop looking at his proportions. The hips, so unnatural. Stop being sad! I will say, with the tail so high up and the gold bit on the neck, it looks like some sort of crazy throne. Leg mode is pretty much the same thing we're used to, except extra spiky with the side of tail kneecap, which you can open up to show dominance. Why is this thing so hard to open? Arm mode has the same articulation as the basic figures, and is just as spiky, but now he's got a face to stare at you. That's intimidating. Snarl would be fantastic. I've always loved this Dinobot as his aesthetic is robust, spiky, and flows perfectly with his other primal bots. However, the proportions seem very awkward. Even the neck looks like it's stuck on a board, but what really sets me back is the cracked ball joints. Other than that, this is a pretty decent Dinobot if you can look past his shortcomings. That being his sappy mood. Cheer up, buddy. The Jonas Brothers are back.